Friends, it's my privilege and honor to introduce you a true legend of Indian advertising and brand leadership, Ambi Parameswaran. With a career spanning over 45 years, Mr. Ambi has been at the forefront of marketing, sales, and advertising excellence. He spent over 25 remarkable years with FCB Ulka Advertising, rising to become its CEO and Executive Director from 2003 to 2013. During this period, he played a pivotal role in transforming Ulka from a loss-making agency into one of India's top 3 marketing communication groups, a turnaround story that continues to inspire business leaders. Over the decades, he has helped build and shape some of India's most iconic brands from Santur and Sundrop to TCS, ICICI Bank, Wipro, Indica Cars, and ZT. Beyond boardrooms and brands, Mr. Ambi is a prolific author with 12 books to his credits, including the widely acclaimed Nawabs, News, Noodles, Sponge, Spring, and his latest work, Marketing Mixology. His thought leadership extends to global platforms, from multiple TEDx talks to speaking engagements at Northwestern and Cornell University. A former president of Advertising Agency Association of India and Ad Club Bombay, a PhD scholar and alumnus of IIT Madras, IIM Kolkata, and Harvard Business School's AMP program, Mr. Ambi embodies both depth and diversity of experience. Today, we are privileged to learn from a master brand strategist, CEO, coach, teacher, author, and above all, a lifelong student of brands. Please join me in warmly welcoming Ambi Parameswaran. He is going to speak on a very interesting topic which has been inspired from bartending, that is mixology and marketing. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amit. First of all, I think I should compliment the organizers of this CIMCON, because I think all of you are entrepreneurs based in Central India. All of you run your own enterprises. All of you would like to go to, say, Bombay or Delhi to listen to thought leaders, but they have done something by bringing, literally catching us by our neck and bringing us here and accepting all kinds of crazy demands from us. Like I said, I will not take a flight which is a 6 a.m. flight. So I'll take only the 10 o'clock flight. I said I want to be asleep by 10:30, so I will not take the 10 p.m. flight. I'll take the 6:30. So he's been very, very kind and accommodative to my crazy request. So thank you very much, sir. Right, and happy to be back. So what I'm going to do today, all of you run your own companies, right? All of you do some form of marketing. All of you do understand some form of branding. So I'm going to talk about marketing and mixology. So we'll do a little bit of prayer to our ruling deity in Mumbai. This is, those of you must have heard, this is Lal Bagcha Raja. I took this photograph when I visited him. And so after paying respects to Lal Bagcha Raja, now we talk about what we do, which is marketing and mixology. How many of you know the term mixology? What is mixology, sir?
Creating a cocktail.
Creating a cocktail, great. How many of you drink alcohol? Everyone? Okay, good. Okay. Fortunately, we are not in Ahmedabad. People will not admit they are drinking.
Officially drink there. You can officially drink in Gift City.
You can, Gift City, yes, Gift City you can, yeah. So, what I'm going to do is, I wrote a book called Marketing Mixology. This book kind of took its own meandering course when it finally found the light of day. About 4 years ago, Amazon wanted a few authors to write a exclusive 10,000 word article which they wanted to give as a Kindle Prime. What is called Kindle Prime, they want to give it to people who subscribe to Kindle. So my publisher contacted me and I wrote an article on negotiation. It did very well on Kindle. It was topping the charts for almost 2-3 months. And then the next year they again came back to me. I said, can you write something? I wrote something on branding. So that also did very well. But after 2 years, the copyrights of those 2 articles, 10,000 word article, came back to me as an author. So now I had 2 10,000 word articles, and my agent and my publisher said, look, you got 2, why don't you write 2 more and we'll put it together as a book. So I started searching what should I write on, and I said I will write on understanding consumers and I'll write on communication. So I wrote 4, negotiation, understanding consumers, branding and communication. 4 chapters, ho gaya, done. I sent to the publisher. But then the editor came and said, look, these look a little disjointed. So you need to rewrite. So I had to end up what was supposed to be a short 3-month project ended up becoming a 1-year project. So finally the book was ready, 4 chapters all done, and I said I want a slightly quirky title. So the idea I had in my head was, I wanted to call it Marketing Masala Mix. And I said the cover will be that of a Badshah Masala, that kind of a cover. Right? So my publisher Kartika said, no, you're a kind of a serious author. You can't have such a funny looking title. So you need to think again. So this is about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So I did what all of us do today. When you are looking for ideas, where do you go? Go to ChatGPT, right? So I went to ChatGPT, started asking. I've written a book, 4 chapters. The idea is to call it Masala Mix, but it's not looking good. So can you suggest some names? It should be 3 words. It should have marketing in it, and it should be quirky. So I got a lot of suggestions. Then I prompted again, saying no, I want something not so quirky but somewhat serious, blah blah. Finally, in one of the 200 odd names I got, I found the word mixology, and from there I got the title, Marketing Mixology. And then I got ChatGPT to also design a rough cover for me. That cover design was used by my Saurav Garge to design this cover, right? So in a sense, part of the title came from open AI tools, and so did the cover design. But obviously this cover design has been dramatically improved from what ChatGPT gave me. Okay, because even today when you go to ChatGPT, ask it to design something, it always makes spelling mistakes. I mean, earlier it was horrible, now it is somewhat better, but still it makes mistakes. In fact, even if you tell, this is the spelling you will use. You know, we used to have the same problem with our artists in our studios, you know. Many of them Marathi medium, so they don't understand English. And they used to make those mistakes. And now ChatGPT is no better, right? Designed in Silicon Valley, it makes the same kind of mistake. But so when I was launching the book, in fact, I give this caution when I do these talks in business school, saying the book has no recipes for cocktails. There is no mention of whiskey or single malt or rum in the book. So it's very kosher, it's very clean. It can be used by even someone below the age of 18, right? So there is nothing dangerous in the book. And I give these talks in business schools, I tell them, look, it's pretty kosher, there is no alcohol. Suddenly you see some, Manhattan is made like this or Bloody Mary is made like this. There's nothing in it. So if you people are planning to, there are a lot of books available, say, if you want to pick it up for getting some interesting cocktail ideas, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. So there's no liquor. But what I did when I was launching the book, I did 4 or 5 launches, Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, and I did an interesting thing. I said, every launch, I should get a mixologist to come for the launch. Now, who's a mixologist? How is a mixologist different from a bartender? Any idea? Why? Who's a mixologist? Is he just a bartender? No. How is he different? He curates. So mixologist is actually a part scientist and a part artist, right? So I was lucky in all my launches. I got some pretty fascinating, mixologists to come and share their secrets. So what I'm going to do in this light-hearted talk, I'm going to link mixology to marketing. And I'm going to do it chapter by chapter. So let's start with the first law of mixology. What do you think is the first law which the mixologist told me? This is a rule. The first law of mixology. What do you think it is? It is so applicable to every one of us. Huh?
To look at the customer. Design the recipe.
First law, it starts with the guest, not with the glass. Right? So every mixologist says, I talk to the customer first. And then I create a drink for that customer. The customer, the good bartender, good mixologist, observes the customer, talks to the customer, find out how the customer is going through his life and what does he want from the drink. And then based on the guest profile, the drink is curated. So, in bars, you get all kinds of people. People who are celebrating a big order and people who are lamenting the loss of an order. Right? You get both. You may have to mix two different very types of drinks. Someone who's lamenting the order, you may want to make it a little stronger so that he gets knocked out. Someone who's celebrating, he's got a lot of money in his pocket. You want to give him a drink so that he keeps drinking at least 4 drinks that night. Right? So that's the first thing, which is it starts with the guest, not with the glass. So taking it to marketing. In marketing, it starts with the customer. Who is our customer? Do we know this customer? So the whole chapter I've written about 2 interesting stories there. There's one shoe story and a Maruti Suzuki. So I was in Kathmandu a few years ago. I was talking to a shoe manufacturer there. Now they make shoes for lower income consumers, 1,500, 1,600 rupee shoes. So husband and wife met me and they wanted some inputs. So I asked them, do you know your customers? They said, yeah, we know our customers. Who are they? Distributors. There are distributors in Bihar, there are distributors in UP, we supply to them. I said, okay. So who do the distributors sell to? Oh, they sell to retailers. There are a few thousand retailers who stock our shoes. Fine. So who do the retailers sell to? Oh, they must be selling to customers. I said, have you met them? Have you met any of your customers? The answer was no. Right? So as a shoe manufacturer, I said, look, one of the things you should do is to spend time meeting your customers. So big companies have mandated this. How many of you are in a somewhat B2C kind of a setting? Right? There are a few. Okay. Right now, those of you in B2C, you should know that big companies mandate home visits. That at least 5 days a month, everyone in the marketing and sales department have to go and meet customers. It could be in shops, it could be in their houses. Okay, Unilever, P&G, all of them do that. So, in fact, when Maruti was being attacked by Hyundai and Tata Motors and Daewoo, one of the things they mandated was everyone in a supervisory position in Maruti Suzuki. It could be someone in sales, someone in product development, someone in manufacturing, someone in finance, someone in purchase. You have to go and sell a car, which means you have to go and stand in a dealership and see how a car is being sold. And that brought about a great sense of awareness in Maruti, across the company, on the importance of customer. Now, in a similar way, Gopal Vittal at Airtel did the same thing a few years ago when they were under attack from Jio. So everyone in Airtel in a supervisory capacity have to go and stand and talk to a customer. You could be in purchase, you could be in sales, you could be in supply chain, you could be in finance, you could be in HR, but are you going and meeting us? So what is the question I want you to put down is, how many of you in your company actually go and meet customers and make notes and share this on a regular basis? See, that's what big companies do. They have these home visits, they have retail checks, and they have actually casual chats. They do all this. So this is the first chapter in the book, which is understanding consumers. Understanding consumers is the most, very often I get asked, what is the most important thing in marketing? What's the most important thing in branding? Easy to answer. Who is your customer? Do you know them? Do you understand them? That's half the job, right? So that's the first law of mixology. Let's go to the second law. Second law of mixology is that every ingredient matters, right? Every ingredient in a drink matters. So this is a finding which I had in my discussion in Mumbai with this person who, how many of you have been to a restaurant called Bombay Canteen in Mumbai? Yeah? You've been, yeah? What's your favorite drink there? Oh, you don't drink? Oh. Okay. Huh? Don't drink? Why did you go? And he went for the food. No. He went for the food. Food is great. Yeah. So, this guy had come, who was a chief innovation expert of Bombay Canteen. So I asked him, what is that? Can you tell me a secret? Something which you do, which people don't know. So he said, yeah, I add this ingredient I add in every drink I make. Any idea what is that ingredient? He says he adds in every drink he makes. Every drink.
Chili.
Huh? Chili?
Mirchi.
Okay, interesting. No. We'll come to that later, but no rice. Yeah. Huh? Salt. Salt is an ingredient, he says, I add to every drink I make. Right? So, in the launch, the first row, Mr. Ravikant was sitting. Those of you may in the auto industry will know who's Mr. Ravikant. So I asked, Mr. Ravikant, what's your drink? So he said, single malt. Plain? He said, no, with a spoon of water. Right? Single malt with a tablespoon of water. So then I asked this guy, will you add salt even in Mr. Ravikant's drink? His answer? Yes. Yes. He says, I have a 10% saline solution in my bar and I add a drop in every drink I make. Now think back that you would have noticed your grandma when she makes jalebi will probably add a little bit of salt because salt brings out the flavor. Salt brings out the flavor of everything. It's probably something to do, any of you in chemicals will know, sodium ion and chlorine. Something happens. Sodium and chlorine, there is something happens, which is why this is a interesting ingredient which he adds in every drink he makes, right? And irrespective, whether it is Bloody Mary or thing, but even Manhattan, even rum and coke if he makes, he adds a little bit of salt to it. Because that salt brings out the flavor of the drink. So every small ingredient matters. And that's a lesson for all of us in marketing. Now let's move into branding. So in branding, you start, I have explained this 5-step brand building process. You start with a brand appraisal. What is the opportunity for building a brand? Then you say, what is my brand definition? How do I want to define my brand? And from there I go to what is my brand articulation? What's going to be my brand name? What's going to be my packaging? What's going to be communication? And then we go to brand measurement. How do I measure the success of this brand? And finally, brand expansion. How do I take this brand into other domains? So that's what this chapter is about, which is about what I call brand building, Pentagon. Now, I want to ask a slightly tricky question here. This is a brand which all of you are aware of, right? Many of you have traveled abroad, right? So any idea how the Oreo pack which you get in India is different from the Oreo pack you get in the US? Any idea?
Food craft brand.
Huh?
It's a food craft brand outside only.
So in India,
It is Cadbury's. When they wanted to occupy the space which Cadbury's was having, they brought it under Cadbury.
interesting. I want you to think again. What is there on the Indian pack which is not there on the international pack? What is there on the Indian pack? You said it, so can you articulate it for the class? Sorry, I'm calling you a class, but Cadbury logo. Cadbury logo is something which they added in India. So background is, this is a brand which my old agency worked with across the globe for almost 50 years. Right? Oreo is originally owned by a company called Kraft General Food. Kraft General Food owns this brand, and Kraft General Foods acquired Cadbury. Okay, so
Pan was the earlier major.
yeah, so Cadbury was a British company which got acquired by Kraft General Food. Kraft, all of you aware of, Kraft makes cheese, right? Kraft is very famous for cheese, and Kraft also makes a product called macaroni and cheese, which is a boxed thing, which is terrible for your health. But all of America, they consume macaroni and cheese at least once a week, right? It's such a popular brand. So, why did they put the Cadbury logo here? What happened? Okay, so we handled this brand. So the background to this was that Oreo was being launched in India, and Kraft told Cadbury, and Cadbury now called, company name is Mondelez. So Mondelez was launching Cadbury about Oreo in India. And what has been Cadbury's track record of launching biscuits in India? Very poor. They've failed multiple times with, Bonvita biscuits. So they had to do a lot of research to say, look, what will help us improve our chance of success? So because the problem was, Oreo may also fail. So when they started doing research, they realized that one of the guys, brilliant marketing guy they had called Chandramouli, some of you might have read his book called Catalyst, he's no more. So Mouli went and told the MD, Anand Kripalu, saying, look Anand, we should put Cadbury logo on Oreo. If you put Cadbury logo, consumers will accept the brand more. Okay. So what was Anand's response to that? तू पागल है? तेरे को नौकरी नहीं चाहिए? साला ये क्राफ्ट वाले हमको खरीदा है. हम तू बोल रहे हो हमारा ब्रांड डालेंगे, उनका this is the biggest cookie brand in the world. And what are you going and telling Kraft? Oreo will not have demand in India if you don't put Cadbury on it. Says, yaar, you will have to look for a job. I'll have to look for a job before you. So I'm not going to say this. So then they sat and brainstormed. So they said, look, how do we convince these guys? How do we convince Chicago that putting Cadbury logo will help? So when in marketing, what do you do to convince your head office? I mean, you guys all run your head offices, so you know. So you do research. So they actually did consumer research, and they found if you put Cadbury logo on an Oreo pack, the interest for the consumer to try the brand was increasing by almost 35%. So they took this data, went to Chicago and said, we want to put the Cadbury logo on the brand. We are closely known to be chocolate. Oreo is chocolate in a sense. So we'll put the brand name Cadbury on it. Of course, I think head office is not happy, but they said, okay, let's give it a shot. So they did it and they did very well. The brand went to 100 crores within 1 year, and now I think it's probably a 1,000 crore brand. It's a very successful brand. And if you go back to the new packs, and I was looking at in the supermarket 2 days ago, looking at the new packs, In the new pack, the Cadbury logo has become small. Right? I think probably they will take it off in a few years' time. Right? So earlier it was very big. It was this big or even bigger, and then now it's become small. Which just goes to say every small thing in branding matters. Right? These guys figured out if we put Cadbury, it will help us. Right? So it's a small thing. You may say, "Arey, what difference does it make?" But in marketing, even a small thing can make a big difference. So that is the thing about branding. That's the second law we talked about. And now let's go to the third one. Third law of mixology. Third law of mixology is about when you get a customer, you need to make sure the customer, you get a good deal from the customer, and you make sure the customer stays with you. Right? So now we come to the lady who suggested something when we started. What was it? Ice. Why is ice important?
Balance.
Why is
that kadwahat of the drink has?
why is ice important?
Because the drink cools down at a slower rate.
Yeah. And what happens if you don't put enough ice?
Texture.
Water gets in. Right? The drink's composition changes. So one of the points which Kushnaz, who was a innovation expert at Diageo, said is ice. You have to put a lot of ice. If you put a lot of ice, your drink stays cold and it doesn't become watery. You must have had a problem, right? Sometimes you have a drink, it becomes very watery very quickly and it no longer tastes the same way. You put a lot of ice. And you put a lot of ice, the drink stays cold, the drink stays consistent. So I was discussing this ice business. Previous speaker here,
Mr. Jagat Shah.
Jagat Shah. He spoke about ice, right? He spoke about some company which sends ice from Iceland to Dubai. So in Chennai, I had one of those number one kind of a bar, and the mixologist, who's also the owner of the bar, was there with us. So I was asking about how important is ice for you. He said it's absolutely important, and he says I use perfect ice in my bar. What is perfect ice?
Clear, transparent.
Perfect ice is ice which has no air bubbles inside. And where does he get it from? His bar is in Chennai. He doesn't get it from Iceland. He flies in perfect ice every day from Delhi. So he says, I get it from Delhi because none of the people in Chennai can make the perfect ice I want. So he flies it in from Delhi. So the ice matters. Ice makes the drink taste good. Ice makes it also your customer feels happy and he'll come back to you. So that is the third chapter in the book, which is creating value and negotiation. Right? The previous speaker, I think, spoke about BATNA, SPANCO, right? SPANCO is there in this chapter as well. SPANCO is the patented way in which Xerox does its sales, suspect, prospect, blah, blah. So this is an interesting story I have in the book. Any of you know who's Theodore Roosevelt? Who's it? Who's the president of USA, right? So this is an interesting story. And it talks about negotiation, talks about information arbitrage. So Theodore Roosevelt was standing for president. And his campaign manager, you can imagine Amit Shah and Mr. Narendra Modi. So his campaign manager went and got a very nice photograph of Theodore Roosevelt and printed 1 million copies of a wonderful leaflet with Theodore Roosevelt's photograph. 1 million copies had been printed. Then someone asked the campaign manager, look, you've used the photograph, you got it printed, but have you talked to the photographer? have you paid the photographer? The campaign manager said, no. So here are two options. One is you scrap all the leaflet you printed, you reprint with a different photograph, taking permission, etc. That will cost you maybe $3 million. Or you go tell the photographer, I've used your photographs. How much you want? How much do you think he'll ask for? He'll ask a lot. So this campaign manager, like all political campaign managers, very smart guy. So what do you think he did?
Why have you shot his photograph without his permission? Why did you shoot the president candidate without his permission?
Okay, so that's one way of doing it. But what he did was something different. He sent a telegram to this photographer saying, we plan to print 1 million leaflets for Mr. Roosevelt's presidential campaign. We can use the photograph you took of President Roosevelt and it will give you great publicity. How much will you pay us for it? And the poor photographer replied back the next day saying, thank you for the offer. I can only make a payment of $250. Right? So he actually made $250 instead of paying $1 million. Now what was working here? What was working here? Negotiation and?
Creating value. Creating value for
What leverage? What do we call that?
Information.
Information what?
asymmetry. Information asymmetry.
Information asymmetry, right? This is basically using information leverage. You have the information that you printed the poster. That poor photographer doesn't know that. Right? Very often when we sit and negotiate with our customer, we think the customer knows everything. Customer may not know. Right? So in this chapter, I've talked about some very simple tools you have for negotiation, what is called BATNA. Before you get into a negotiation, you have to have your BATNA. BATNA is best alternative to a negotiator agreement. Before you go in, you got to have that. So you know at this point, I'll walk away. Right? I will not fall down and agree to whatever price the customer is going to offer. So the chapter is really a condensed version of a very famous book called Getting to Yes. And it condenses all that and gives you in one chapter key principles of negotiation. Those of you, I'm sure all of you are in some form of negotiation. How many of you do negotiation as a part of your business? Right? So either you're negotiating to buy or you're negotiating to sell, right? If you are negotiating to buy or negotiating to sell, you got to understand the principles of negotiation, which is starting with what is my BATNA and what is my buyer's BATNA, right? And therefore, what is the zone of possibilities? That I will not sell below 35, but I know this guy will never pay more than 45. So the zone is 35 to 45. So you got to know that before you go in to your negotiation. Right? That's what and so big companies, please be aware, those of you who may be selling to big companies train their supply chain and purchase guys for days on negotiation. There are role plays you do. You train them so that they can pulverize people like you who are, I would assume, smaller companies. Right? So just watch out for this. This is a very useful chapter. This leads us to the last part, which is the fourth law. Fourth law is about what we call message, right? Mixology is the message. You have to create your stories to sell, right? What is the story you're going to create? So I was talking to this mixologist in Bangalore, and he said, I know people come here after watching a movie, So he said, I created a drink for them. When I say movies, what triggers come to your mind? Popcorn, absolutely. When you say movies, it's popcorn. So he says, my movie drink is actually a lot of popcorn. I soak the popcorn in vodka overnight in the freezer. The next day I filter out all the popcorn, right? But the vodka still has the popcorn flavor. I make my cocktails with that and I call that movie night. And he made me taste it. It's fantastic. I don't drink. I've gone off liquor, but he gave me a thimbleful. I took a sip and I said, it reminded me of movies. Because it was vodka with some popcorn flavor in it. And that's the story. You got to tell stories, right? And that's the fourth chapter in the book, which is communication. How do you communicate? Do you know your customers, right? Do you know your customers? Do you know what they will understand? And so I came across this test called the Gunning Fog Index. Any of you heard of this Gunning Fog Index? So all of us write stuff, right? We write to customers, we write to our salespeople. So I was doing a set of training program for PepsiCo, and Shiv was the CEO then, and one of the sessions he came and he shared this thing. Gunning Fog Index, anything you write, you can go to Gunning Fog Index, upload what you've written, and Gunning Fog Index will tell you how many years of schooling you should have gone through to understand that paragraph or that letter, right? So normally, anything like 7-8 years is fine. Anything which is more, if you write something and it says 3 years, you know it's very, very basic, it's too stupid. If you write something and it says 12 years, it means you need at least a master's degree to understand this. So whatever you write, you can easily get it tested through Gunning Fog Index. In fact, I think Financial Express, when they wrote the review of my book, and the lady had admitted, this review, I put it on Gunning Fog Index. I'm sorry to say it scored 12, right? But I suppose Financial Express readers are intelligent enough to understand this thing. So communication is the fourth chapter in the book. It's about all these things, various tools on how do you communicate and how do you communicate effectively yet clearly. So this is the summary. First is, of course, customer is important. Get out of your office, get out of your factory, go meet the customer. Second is, what is your brand? Every single small element of your brand matters. Third, learn to negotiate. Learn to negotiate. There is always some value in negotiation. There is always information asymmetry. Right? What is information asymmetry? Find that out. And lastly, world is full of noise, and figure out how you can communicate, how you can connect. So this is my talk, and Amit had said I've written many books. These are all my books. Some of them are available for sale for you to pick up, and I've got a few podcasts which are also live. One is on actually brand warfare, and I write often in Business Standard, Mint, and the Economic Times. In fact, my article on sanitary napkins appeared 2 days ago in Business Standard. And of course, you can follow me. These are the brands I've worked on over the last 45 years, and you can follow me on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So thank you very much. And I think we have what? We are done?
Yeah.
We have 5 minutes questions? Okay.
Please have a seat, sir.
So this is the book. It's available on sale. Please buy. Okay, thank you.
Please. Being a moderator, I'm taking the privilege of asking you the first question. I'm directly jumping to the second law which you said. You mentioned that every ingredient matters, okay? But some matters more. And that the most interesting ingredient is the secret sauce which you mentioned. Okay. So for Indian businesses, what typically becomes the secret sauce? Whether it is the culture, whether it is the innovation, whether it is the leadership, or it is something else.
I think the secret sauce for you is to, again, I've come back to customers. Do you know your customer? Can you do something for your customers no one else can do? Right? That is your secret sauce. Right? Everything else follows. Innovation, it could be packaging, it could be pricing, it could be anything. But is there a problem of your customer only you can solve? That becomes your, holy grail.
So that's the secret sauce as well. Sir, with our consumers, they are exposed to so many brands messages daily. Okay, so what separates a brand that merely communicates from one that truly connects and converts?
I know the problem having a moderator like this, he asks all these tough questions. Your brand has to tell a story. So there's another presentation I have called, brand is a name that tells a story.
Right.
So if your brand can tell a good story, it will stay in the consumer's mind.
Right.
If it doesn't tell a good story, it will not stay in the consumer's mind. So we are about telling stories, and we need to make sure we tell the problem today is there is so much of Insta stuff happening that you're not consistent. You keep changing your story, every few days, and then the consumer gets completely confused. So you got to make sure, what is your brand? What does your brand stand for? And what is the guardrail I'll put? And I will stick to that, come what may. And that's a challenge today. Because everyone is, keen on creating anything on ChatGPT and putting it up. And all of you know that Bombay Shaving Company put up a full page ad making, I think that girl who topped UP government exam about her facial hair, such bad taste. How did it go through? But it went through. They released the ad.
Should we think that the storytelling should be more towards solving a problem, or it should be more aspirational in nature? What in your experience for so many years working with so many brands, what has worked more?
I think every brand has to have both emotional and rational. So if your brand is only rational, consumer will never be happy. If your brand is only emotional, consumer will never be satisfied. So if you want to satisfy the consumer and keep them happy, you got to have a right blend of both rational and emotional elements, right? Without which you will not succeed.
Now I will open the forum for question and answers. If anybody, just raise your hand, tell your name, and then you are taking the mic.
You got a question there.
Yeah.
Behind her.
Oh, sorry.
He wants to ask, when are we vacating the room?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, so hi sir, my name is Shlok. So currently my company's name is Kailash and I just joined a year back, family business. So currently I'm focusing on the branding part basically, and I have finalized all that. But the thing is, how do I convey that message to the audience? Because we have never used social media, we have never used anything. And the cost of putting our story to the customer's ear is...
Please be crisp. Please be
Yeah. So basically the cost is...
So mini consulting पूछ रहा है.
Give me the direction.
I wish I could answer your question, but I'll give you the simplest solution I have today. Buy a copy of my book and read it.
It's available outside.
Yeah, please, you take the mic.
Myself, Ashwin Gupta, working with Gimatas as CEO. I want to ask, can brand will survive without product quality?
You can't. I mean, unless you are that Gobar case which he talked about, right? Previous speaker spoke about this. Gobar, they export something, right? So even that has value.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So quality is a very loose term. What you need is value, right? If your buyer sees value in that, then you'll survive. And the previous speaker spoke about someone who's exporting goat shit, right? Now, because someone is seeing value in it, because apparently goat shit is very good manure for rose plants. Okay, it's got value.
Thing is that India and versus China.
Sir, no counter question, please. Please let him answer. We can have another question. Sir, please go ahead. Sorry.
No, there's someone else asking. Okay, आपका तो मैंने आंसर कर दिया ना. Quality, sir, quality is in the eyes of the buyer, right? If he sees value, you have quality. It could be a lousy product, but the consumer says, I'm paying only 5 rupees, it's okay.
Right.
If it fails after 2 weeks, it's fine.
So value is more important.
Value,
than the volume.
value.
Fine. Yeah, anybody else? Okay, Alok ji.
My name is Alok. Sir, on the AI scale of marketing designs that we do, the temperature should be at 0 or at 1, where 1 the creativity level and 0 at fact.
See, it depends on what AI tools you use. Like Perplexity you use for data, right? So there it is 0. ChatGPT you use for slightly more creative stuff, so where it is temperature is a little higher. Because
What has been more successful, effective?
I think it's, the job is still going on. We have not seen the end of this tunnel yet. I mean, you get a lot of garbage out of AI also, right? I mean, what I've figured out is you ask one platform, then you load that answer onto another platform to check if it is right. Especially if it is, fact checking. Fact checking you have to do. I mean, I'm writing a 10th anniversary edition of my old book. And I asked ChatGPT about how many homes in India have television in 2015, 2025. Some of the numbers look okay to me, some of them look pretty weird. We had 90% of Indian homes had television in 2015. Now 95% of Indian homes have television in 2025. Now, to all of you, does it sound okay? It is patently wrong. In 2015, it was 65%. Now it is 71%. Only 71% of Indian homes have TV. But ChatGPT told me very confidently 98% have TV. Which fortunately Perplexity said no. Right? So I had to do that double checking.
So few are more correct in their answers.
No, which is why you got to, you can't blindly trust what, Gen AI tools tell you. A lot of times they go wrong.
Right. Okay, we have just 5 minutes. Yeah, Ankit ji, please go ahead.
So my question is, how do you build or what would be the pillars for storytelling for a brand, where in today's world you see that people are, products are getting commoditized, people are running behind spec-driven marketing, or where products are being sold like commodities. I'm specifically talking in the B2B segment. So for you to build trust, what could be the key pillars that you could use to communicate your brand story? Because you said that story being emotional and creating a story is very important to communicate. And that is what stays with the customer. So what would be the pillars behind this?
So in B2B, you have 3 pillars really. One is customer centricity, which is, providing better service, things like that. Second is pricing, right? Third is value, right? If you're in B2B, you got to know, what am I going to over leverage on? Am I going to low cost provider, or I'm going to be a provider who will innovate and create solutions for my customers? So if you don't do that, you'll fall between many stools. And you should be ready at a point of time to say, sorry, I will walk away. I will not supply. This price is not okay. And I'm talking of a company in which I was on the board, and one of their biggest customers pulled out. And they said, look, if you don't supply at this price, we are not going to give you the order. They said, okay, we are not supplying. They took a 20% hit on volume, but they found other, customers to sell it to. And then a year later, the main customer came back and please supply. They said, we don't have capacity. Please wait for a year. And they had to wait. Right? So you got to have that courage to stand. And don't do things for free. Don't do things for free. If they want something extra, charge for it.
We are going to have last 2 questions. Okay, please.
I think this gentleman here has been putting up his hand for a long time.
Okay, please.
Hello sir, my name is Manish Zara. I am from Vidarbha Infotech. I wanted to ask you a question, like
can we use marketing mixology in B2C? B2G.
B2? What is G?
Government, business to government.
Yeah, it works everywhere, yeah. What is B2G is what? It's like B2B, no? I mean, government, like I think the previous page, government is a very big buyer. Whatever rules you apply to B2B will apply to the government. Just government is a very big buyer, so you got to spend that much time. The same laws of Batna, Shatna, everything will work there, right? Because you got to first do the homework. Who's the decision maker? What are the levels of decision? Is it going to be L1? How do I play the L1 game? Right? You got to do that, right? So you cannot say government is an opaque mass. There are companies which do very successful business, and it's also wrong to say government is all corrupt. It's not right. Okay, so you have to figure out, what rules will work. Yeah.
Hello.
The ice lady wants to ask a question.
Please let him ask the question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, thank you so much for your wonderful session. So my question is, you having worked with so many brands over the years, the framework, the marketing mixology framework that you've put together in this book, which of those 4 elements do you think has been the most lacking in your, the brands that you work with over so many years, in Indian brands?
See, I'll be biased. I'll say my brands are all great brands. They did everything well. But in by and large in India, we don't invest enough on understanding consumers. Okay, a lot of companies, they're willing to spend 10% of their turnover on advertising. They don't spend 1% on consumer research. It's always a problem. I was in a particular very big pharma company. I was on one of their panels for judging, and the promoter was there, and I told him, all the presentations are very good, but I don't see enough research, consumer research, doctor research. So he said, well, we don't have the margins, but I think that's an excuse. They have enough margins. They don't spend money on research. They don't spend money on understanding consumers. That's important.
Okay, we are short of time. Last question. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think the ice lady wants to ask, so we'll have to give her a chance, but both.
Okay, let's have last 2 questions. Yes, sir.
Quick.
Sorry, yeah, it'll be crystal quick. I just wanted to get your perspective about how the Reels sector and especially the attention span that is reduced for people has changed the marketing game, especially when it comes to a lot of companies are also opting for user-generated content. So what are your thoughts about it? And
See, attention span has come down. Okay, at one time, most television was 30 seconds. Now it's down to 15 seconds, right? So, but Japan has always had a 15-second rule. So you have to adapt to a consumer, right? While that attention span has come down, the consumer will give you time if you're telling a story which is interesting them. Right? They are willing to spend 5 minutes, 6 minutes watching a video if it's interesting. So you got to spend money in making that. I was reading about this. There's a wonderful film about a Samsung serviceman going up the mountain to repair a Samsung TV, right? And apparently that is in a hostel for deaf and dumb children. Blind children, right? And that film is a 5-minute film. It was the highest viewed film on YouTube that year. It's a story, right? So you tell good stories, people will watch you.
So it's a skincare brand, and we all have all the skincare products that exist in the market, like shampoos, moisturizers. We have certifications, organic. Everybody has that as well, right? Price points are matched. So what do you actually do to differentiate yourself? Because everything you have, somebody else also more or less has. So how to really stand out?
I mean, I wish I knew, but some categories are very, very big and very, very complicated. And even in those categories, suddenly someone comes up. Like look at the way minimalist has come up, right? They've copied an international brand, but they've taken what they call ingredient first kind of labeling. Right? And it's fully bootstrapped. They've not taken money from VCs. They exited at 3,500 crores. Right? So you need to find out what will work for you. There's another brand which when a friend of mine was investing in that company, I said, are you sure it will work? It's a brand called McCaffeine. Right? It contains it's caffeine for
Coffee-based products.
it's for hair shampoo. I discovered there is actually a very big brand out of Germany which uses caffeine in hair care products. And apparently caffeine reduces hair fall. Sir, आपके लिए बोल रहा हूँ मैं.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Ambi sir, since I started the questions session with you, I'm going to end with the last question. One practical step which you can suggest this audience, which can go back and start implementing from Monday, the coming Monday itself.
Oh, very good. I think, who's your customer? Who's your customer?
Okay.
Focus on that. Right?
Knowing the customer is the most paramount important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
With that, we come to an end. It was a fantastic session. There is Ambi sir told us that know your customer, do with smart negotiation, and finally create value in your brand. That is what is the message from this session. Thank you so much, friends. The next session is after a gap of 15 minutes. Please do join us. Also, sorry, we have to do the momentum with him. Yeah.
Thank you. And I thought I'll give a copy of this book to this gentleman who gave me you gave the salt answer, right? Yeah.
There is a disclaimer. Ambi sir is not trying to sell his books, okay? So we are also there in the queue.
Yeah, good. For you, I've kept a lot of books. I said you can buy.